Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis. So we're at the very verge of the end of Act 1. We found the lost dialogue of Plato, and we're gonna hold on to this piece of this book for the rest of the game. Oddly, I think we kind of hold on to this book for the rest of the game too, and there's not really a reason.
Viking gravesite, she was secretly collecting pieces from Atlantis.
The thing I think specifically about this is like the only time you have actual pictures of some actress and Harrison Ford, so they didn't want to lose that item. We are going to probably lose most of these items though when we start the middle branching path. So let's go to the office. Now it's going to suggest a path. We can see right now we are in a path of none. And it will be almost certainly based 100% on how we solved that very first puzzle as far as how to get inside Madame Sophia's presentation. So had I fought my way in, I would be suggested the fighting path. Had I talked my way in, I'd be suggested the talking path. And had I puzzled my way in, I'd be suggested the puzzle path. I believe we canonically went with the puzzle path. It is just a suggestion, and you can counter it in the conversation to take whatever path you want.
I got it. I found Plato's lost dialogue.
Now,
really?
Some of these paths
Sternhardt is quite the scholar.
End up with you not going directly with Sophia. But then you meet up with her later on in the middle steps, and you definitely interact with her in the final third act of it, as it were. Honestly, it would make a lot more sense if you at least visited every location in the game, even if you chose a different path, but you don't. Like, you literally go to different places and do different things and interact with different people, and it's very weird. It would make a lot more sense in a modern game for this just to be a 5-act game instead of a 3-act game, and you would go one area and you'd have to do the puzzle stuff, and you'd have go another area and you'd do the talking stuff, and another area and you have to do the fighting stuff. Maybe the game then would just have hints and help if necessary. There is definitely some history that is being leaned on too much to make this game too much like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which leaned too much on the movie because everything that happened in that game happened in the movie. So they bring you directly back to the Lost Dialogue of Plato, just in case you hadn't read it. I already had. Though, so just click to leave this.
Find Atlantis.
Let's see. So we can go. Let's see. Isn't it obvious? Question mark, which it isn't super obvious, particularly for first-time players. Then you notice Plato's tenfold numbering error. Plato mentions colonies and outposts. We'll find them. Sternhardt probably could have told us a lot. Let's go with Sternhardt could probably have told us a lot.
Sternhardt probably could have told us a lot.
Sternhardt's long gone. I'd sooner trust my spirit guide.
Let's just figure out where those colonies are. Plato's the one to trust, I think. You mean your old pal Norab Sal, which the rhyming there is too tempting. I don't believe your choice of dialogue here is affecting anything, though. I don't think it's giving you IQ points. I don't think it's going to affect what's suggested to you.
You mean your old pal Norab Sal?
Which they just made up that name.
Yes.
Almost certainly.
Where's my spirit guide when I need him?
She just wiggles her fingers.
Come on, Sophia. The answer's in the book, not outer space.
So he got his dates mixed up. Why is that so important?
So, The idea that ghosts would be in outer space is an odd thought, and there is just like no alien red herring or that should be in the story that actually are in the story. We have already cryptids, humans that have been turned into monsters, which I guess would be a cryptid. Maybe not. Maybe that doesn't quite fit that definition. And ghosts, and Atlantis, and an ancient species, and magical energies and magical abilities. So you're covering like 3 or 4 different really extreme claims around Atlantis, whereas they could have probably watered it down some more. There definitely are some theories out there that ancient aliens built the pyramids and such, and honestly that wouldn't be a terrible Indiana Jones theme or idea to start with, where Indiana Jones is hired by somebody who believes in ancient aliens. Indiana Jones himself doesn't believe. He goes on this journey, investigates it. It looks like it's aliens, and then unlike Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, don't prove that it is aliens. Instead prove that actually it was just an ancient society, and that the alien part was just accidentally added in the mistranslation. Because the problem with the ending of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and we'll have to see if they ever make that 5th Indiana Jones movie before Harrison Ford just gets too old. We'll definitely have to see if they can pull back from the fact that in Crystal Skull there are aliens from like a 4th dimension, and so that just opens up the world potentially to a lot of weirdness, certainly, because you have to ask yourself, how did these aliens with the 4th dimension interact with the Ark of the Covenant? Did they make it, or which would be kind of sacrilegious to say that, or is there just a Judeo-Christian God who's super powerful and a never mentioned in the Bible ancient aliens from a 4th dimension? Like, those two things are not particularly congruous. So this is pointing us in different directions. We can either say player's error means distances could also be wrong. We may not find Atlantis in the Atlantic at all, which is basically saying the same. Maybe the colony names will turn up. Let's try and dance around it as much as possible and not mention player's tenfold error, because that's really what it's trying to funnel you to.
Colony names will turn up.
They better. I doubt Nurab Sal will recognize our modern names.
Let's see. So, forget about the colony names for now. Let's concentrate on the tenfold error.
Forget about the colony names for now.
Okay.
If Plato was right, Atlantis is in the Mediterranean, not the Atlantic. And this finally forces you down to the tenfold error thought that they really wanted to focus on. This section of dialogue in particular, I remember even when I originally played it, felt particularly awkward and particularly funnily, where you would want to see in modern games either better writing so that you could actually feel like what you're saying matters and what your options are matters, or just have a cutscene in general. I think even the Telltale games, which effectively are an attempt at doing a modern take on point-and-click adventure games, they often they did a much better job about letting you say something when something important needed to be said and having it come back and be remembered for the duration of that specific subchapter of an episode. Pretty much whatever you said later on after a specific episode had ended was forgotten, unless it was a big factor and then it might be remembered. There were much better tricks in Telltale games, certainly as far as people remembering things that you're saying, where instead of really just having only one option to say, this whole scene could have just been a cutscene, and if it could have been just a cutscene, this might have been a good scene to once again address the pixeliness and the low resolution of these games originally, and try to have a secondary animation style and zoom in a little bit more. There's, particularly in this office, no reason you should have ever been able to see this much of the office. It is just people wasting time animating things for no good reason.
If Plato is right, Atlantis is in the Mediterranean.
You mean 300 miles from Greece instead of 3,000?
So they're going smaller, not bigger, which, like, it could be 30,000 the other direction. Yes, the cradle of the cradle of civilization, or of course the lost dialogue could still be a fake. Let's be a skeptic.
Of course, the lost dialogue could still be a fake.
It could be that Sternhard made it all up.
He once told me he came from the middle of the world. That's what Mediterranean means.
The idea that there would be a sunken city in the middle of the Mediterranean is harder to believe, because somebody would have seen some evidence of it. I mean, you would once again have to have, in real world speaking, if there was an Atlantis in the middle of the Mediterranean, it would have had to have blown itself completely up, much more than Pompeii and the power of the volcano blew that city up and covered it in ash and kind of preserved it. It would have to be something more powerful than the most powerful of bombs that we've ever used in the real world to just kind of destroy all evidence. Or you have just a ton of people scavenging and stealing artifacts from a sunken city to the point where there are just no records even kept of how much pirates, I imagine is what you would call them, stole from the city, leaving not a single stone unturned, which that also feels kind of unbelievable that would happen. And here we could either say we start to like Noor Absal, or enough with your fantasies, I'm talking about facts. Honestly, I think to stay more in character, being a jerk and a disbeliever is kind of Indiana Jones's character. I definitely would rewrite him in 2021 to try and make him, I guess I would probably make him a bit more of an autistic, lovable character, and that is what the Librarian movies and the Librarian TV series did, is that you have 4 different librarians in the Librarian TV series, and each one of them is a fairly lovable character who's obsessed about finding artifacts and saving the day. One is a kind of country boy guy who's actually very good at history. One is a lovable thief. One is a math genius nerd girl, and then the most down-to-earth regular person is like their bodyguard in the Librarians TV series. And then the main librarian who came over from the movie is kind of this lovable loser character who's really smart but also not in any way cool. This Steven Spielberg aspect, certainly, and in the 80s and 90s, this would have made a lot of sense to make Indiana Jones really cool. And we kind of needed some character like Indiana Jones to be cool. But what was cool back then kind of has faded away, and it leaves the rough edges as obvious in Indiana Jones and Harrison Ford. I think you might even say Harrison Ford as an actor might embody some of the rough edges also. You have the same problem with his character in Han Solo, and you see in the Han Solo shot first controversy how they George Lucas, not Steven Spielberg this time, although George Lucas and Steven Spielberg were good friends and probably collaborated a lot more than you think. George Lucas wrote Han Solo as kind of a jerk, scofflaw character in Star Wars, and then in the re-releases they edited him to not shoot first, and they edited it as much as they tried to get away with it, and tried to do some revisionist history to make Han Solo more of a good guy character. And like, frankly, they didn't even succeed particularly well with that, because by the time you are at the 7th or 8th movie in Star Wars, even then Han Solo is still shown to be a kind of bad dad, for lack of a better term. So yeah, Harrison Ford seems like he's kind of typecast as the kind of bad guy. And certainly in the video games, you might want to rewrite him a little bit and make him a little bit more nice, a little bit more goofy. You definitely see how they're trying to make him more cartoony and trying to make the scenarios more cartoony, but they're not really succeeding particularly well at it for Indiana Jones games. And I don't know if you really can go down that route. Even Uncharted, which basically is just ripping off Indiana Jones, it has that problem in which the main character is kind of a jerk.
Enough with your fantasies. I'm talking facts.
Wait, quiet.
So she just blows him
I'm
off.
getting something.
Let's see. Don't push this too far, Sophia. Let's see. So yeah, I'm gonna just play him as I see Indiana Jones is written. There's that orc, I'm sure, spooky stuff. What? So, Mr. Sal, what's the secret? Like, the problem with the idea that Indiana Jones doesn't believe him is the fact that we saw that ghost appear. So it's not just that he doesn't believe that Norab Sal as a ghost is actually communicating with her, or some kind of ghost is communicating with her. It's that he saw a ghost appear and doesn't have very many options to explain that away. Otherwise, he would have to assume that her necklace is some kind of ancient technology holographic projector that just presents like a ghost to be spooky, and it's just some kind of Halloween prop in a time frame where you still have like old school ice boxes and electric fans and telephones connected to wires on tables. Like, holographic projectors would not even be a thing in his mind at that time. It would be the stuff of science fiction. It is much, much more believable to trust her and say that Norab Sal is really communicating her. And all they would have had to do to fix that is to simply not show the ghost. Instead, what I would have rewritten it in the scene very early at the beginning of the game, I would have had her speak through a different voice, and then Indiana Jones could just say, oh, Sophia's crazy, she's got split personalities, she's talking as if she is Norab Sal, instead of showing an actual ghost, because there's no benefit to seeing the ghost there. There was no benefit to that animation. It didn't even look particularly good. Alright, so I'm gonna go with the jerk response.
Don't push this too far, Sophia.
Will you just shut up and listen to me? Among the artifacts that Kerner stole was a small stone disc with a hole in it.
Yes.
I'm sure it was one of the 3 stones mentioned in Plato's book.
He called it the World Stone. but I guess you
didn't
could have
find
missed that.
I bought it from Omar Al-Jabbar in Algiers.
So yeah, it could certainly be a case where Indiana Jones just rolled his eyes and thought Sophia was a little crazy, and she was using her spirit guide as a way to tell you bits of information. But they don't really establish that much in the game up until this point either. She's been very quiet as far as Norab Sal in the other locations. And you could have easily fixed that where every time you communicated, instead of what should we do now, it should have been Indiana Jones like mockingly asking her, what do you think, Norab Sal? Does Norab Sal say what we should do next? And have her try and use her craziness, have Indiana Jones use what he assumes is craziness as a way to get hints. And there definitely is a definite answer at the end of the game. So it's not like you have to play, is Norab Sal real, or is it just her imagination for that long? You could have done it for the first couple acts, though. Let's see. Haven't we talked enough to these nutcases? Yeah, I'm just going to go with the jerk responses.
Haven't we talked to enough of these nutcases?
Again, I don't think any of these responses give you...
La Portier in Monte Carlo? Either way, Algiers or Monte Carlo. This much I do know. You'll need all 3 stones if you want to find Atlantis.
So we're gonna go to 2 different locations, and I feel like the 2 different locations are different based on which path you're on, even though you end up going to 2 different locations. But maybe I'm wrong. Like, this would be the second act would be the part that I would remember the least, because it branches into 3 different paths. So I probably only played once, each of the paths only once or twice. Like, maybe we ought to call the whole thing off. I'll go, but you're staying here. All right, I'm ready to go. How will we find Trotter or Algigi? Let's go with the jerk response.
Maybe we ought to call this whole thing off.
Which that is the right response.
You can weasel out later, but first I'm going to tell you a fortune.
Okay.
Look into my eyes.
So now is the time to save. This is where she tells your fortune.
Deep into
and
my eyes.
Tells you what path.
I'm not going to hurt you. Now hold still. You are a remarkable man, Dr. Jones. You possess great strength of character. You are resourceful. Always eager to solve life's deepest puzzles.
Strength,
I
resource,
follow the thoughts of your maze-like mind.
And puzzles.
So I can't follow you along the twisting path that leads to Atlantis.
Now, there is a different option here, where the resourceful kind of is the co-op path. And so she's telling me to go down the puzzle path. You're right, I better think this through alone. I'd rather tackle it together. With you, I'd rather go into action by myself. So, in 2 of the 3 paths, she's not even going to be with you for this section. Let's just go with the first one for simplicity's sake, and then we'll go this one and this one. And it will be quite a while before we jump back to this point.
You're right. I better think this through alone.
I understand. Stay in touch.
And so that was the suggestion. And this is kind of like the best response. And certainly some of these responses would certainly be cool if they gave you achievements for saying certain lines of dialogue, or just finishing an act and having it. having you be able to say one thing and another.
Take care of yourself, and don't talk to any strange Nazis.
Notice how it
So long,
says,
Indy.
don't talk to strange Nazis. So now we are on the wits path. And we've gotten 88 out of 94, which means we're actually doing worse, not better. Right. So now we are moving over to Monte Carlo or Algiers. I think you kind of end up going both direction. Although, if I recall correctly, I think a lot of what you do in Algiers requires cooperation. So I think I want to go there first. You almost certainly are going to see both locations before you end up getting both paths. So we keep the gum, the archaeology book, the whip, which honestly you don't use the whip enough for it to really be something in your inventory. And we keep the Lost Dialogue of Plato, which it certainly would make more sense in a modern game to have merged these two into like books and documents type portfolio, and save yourself some space. There is a certain point in this game where you can have, I'd say maybe 15 or 16 items, not a ton amount, a large amount though.
It says aerial views, 1 flight up.
Okay. Some of these puzzles get very specific as far as needing to know where to go.
It says balloon ride closed for repairs.
Yeah. At a certain point, there is a balloon ride here. Maybe not in this path. Okay. And then you have these random people walking around. And they're kind of walking around to show you that you can walk over here, even though there really isn't an explanation. It would have made a lot of sense to not have this part like this and instead set that in the background and just have people kind of walk ahead. So let's talk to the citizens.
I don't want to disturb them. They look kind of busy.
Yep. They don't say anything.
Hello there.
We can talk to the beggar.
A prosperous American.
Very much. This is a potentially offensive accent, and we may run into some of that in general. You ever hear of Atlantis? It would be kind of crazy to immediately jump to that, but I think we can exhaust all of this.
You ever hear of Atlantis, old man?
Atlantis. Atlantis. No.
He's just going to tell you straight up no.
What are you doing here on the streets?
I'm a beggar, Effendi. It is my job to be here.
How's business?
Some of these lines of dialogues should probably just play all the way through, but they give you the option to just bail out of conversations if you lose interest. And inherently that is kind of the problem with point and click adventures in a new generation of players, people who are used to just playing high action first person shooters. They probably would get bored very quickly with any dialogue and would want to just skip it and bail out, which just does not work for these kinds of games, because if you do that, you could, but if you're allowed to skip all conversations, you could probably beat this game in less than 20 minutes.
You know where Omar Al-Jabbar lives?
Omar is one of my best customers. Alas, his address is known to few men. Now, let me get back to work, please.
So, you get no bit of information there. There's definitely not a lot going on in this area. There's the city streets and a back alley. and nothing else. So I think if you walk to the back alley in the city streets, I think it actually takes you to the same place. So we have a souvenir shop in the back alley. It doesn't take you to the same place. And there's some pots. There's a storekeeper. There's assorted items.
It all looks pretty worthless.
There's a crow. There's some crockery.
Big pots.
And I don't know what this statue is supposed to represent here, or this statue is supposed to represent, if they're supposed to represent anything. There's considerably fewer references to Sam and Max and Star Wars. But that's important also to imagine, keep just realism.
Excuse me.
How can I help you with Indy?
So we have a shopkeeper, and we're beat around the bush a little bit.
I'm looking for Atlantis.
Good luck.
How much are those pots?
If you must ask, you can't afford them.
Are you Omar?
You mean Mr. Al-Jabbar? That is an also good one, Effendi. I'm his trusted servant, Paul Abdul.
So his name is Paul Abdul. Or
Thanks for the
a
information.
joke on Paula Abdul. Or, kind of obvious fake
It
name.
says, drink Elliot's rosewater in Arabic.
So, yeah. Now, I suppose this is a Islam country. If they're drinking rose water, it definitely looks like some of the men, but not all the men, have head coverings, but that may not have anything to do with religion as much as it does just living in the desert. We don't see any women walking around as far as random characters. Yeah. So I went the wrong way. Let's see, if you try to chase these guys, I don't think you can actually interact with them.
I'm not going out there unless I absolutely have to.
And you can't even go into the city streets, so it can't even show off that element yet. Well, I can definitely tell you that in the partner section, there is a lot of difference. You can't talk to that guy. This area is open, and there's a person behind it that at some point, maybe in the partner or maybe in the fighting section, there's a fully covered, possibly female, but who knows. There is a knife throwing board and a knife thrower standing here. So this isn't just empty space for empty space sake, unlike things in the previous act, where there definitely were some empty space areas. So we're walking back to the airport. So I should have just gone to Monte Carlo first. I may very well not do anything in Monte Carlo or Algeciras. So you have a stranger, and then you have some other strangers, and a taxi, and here you have a lady. And see, it's almost a direct comparison. This is the Western world of people walking in full suits and being in like modern Neo-Greek architecture with cars and such. So we can walk to the city streets here and probably not accomplish anything.
Nothing interesting over here.
Okay. Let's see. And I don't think you can talk to the taxi. So, what are you supposed to do? Like, you've got several people. What's funny here is this really is just a dumb idea in general. Because
Excuse me.
you are literally looking for one person in all of Monte Carlo. And so you're just here to catch these random walking NPCs, which random walking NPCs are never something anybody wants to have to deal with, to try and find Monsieur Alan Trotter.
Can you tell me where to find Monsieur Trottier?
Trottier.
Sorry, no. But he always wears a flower in his lapel.
So he's a he. Like, I can just break it. It's obviously this guy because he shows up way more.
Hey there.
And they walk to you.
Can you tell me what Monsieur Trottier looks like?
Sorry, I don't know him.
You just get no response with her.
Just a moment, please.
And you'll walk to this guy.
Are you Alan Trottier?
No, I'm not.
Hey there.
And you can try and talk to him twice.
Can you tell me where to find Monsieur Trottier?
Sorry? No.
So you get that one hint. And
Hey
then
there.
you have like different body models with different
Can you tell me where
colors.
to find Monsieur Trottier?
Sorry, no. But he always wears a flower in his lapel.
And so you get that one hint, and that's it. Like, this is just an extremely odd gameplay mechanic, certainly, to just have to wait to find him. And he's the only one with, like, gray hair. So, let's ask this question.
Can you tell me where to find Monsieur Trottier? Possibly. Who wants to know?
Let's see. That's not important. Are you Alan Trottier or not? I'm Dr. Indiana Jones of Barnett College. Just call me Jones. I can't tell you confidential. You might as well introduce yourself if you're trying to do business with somebody and be nice.
I'm Dr. Indiana Jones of Barnett College. Jones. I believe I've heard of you. Yes,
So,
of course, the
what's
famous
funny,
archaeologist.
he's not that famous, obviously. Yep, that's me, the world's greatest adventurer. Actually, I'm just a simple professor. That's me. Let's play it down.
Actually, I'm just a simple professor. Oh, leave the modesty to me, sir. Alain Trottier.
Of course, real professors are not allowed to run around the world stealing artifacts from different countries. I mean, they can certainly go on archaeological digs, but they have to be welcome in that country and properly permitted and actually do things right and hand over whatever they find to the local authorities in almost every case. This is not 100 years prior in which England was just stealing, the Museum of Britain, the British Museum, was just stealing artifacts from all the other countries, and pretty much, I think even now, hasn't returned a lot of them. What can you tell me about Atlantis? I've heard you deal in Atlantean artifacts.
What can you tell me about Atlantis?
So you just have a conversation here.
To prove you're worth dealing with, answer me this. What was Plato's great error?
And see, this is the puzzle. This is the puzzle path. So instead of fighting or interacting with people, you just need to be smart. And so the error, I think, is translation. And probably if you click the wrong one, it wouldn't matter anyways. Let's go with the wrong one just to show.
Error of judgment. Oh, no, you're just guessing. Bonsoir, monsieur.
And so if you're wrong,
To look me up whenever you're in town. And now, au revoir.
so like he walks off, and you just have to wait for him to to appear again as a penalty.
Just a moment, monsieur. Back again, Dr. Jones. What now?
So
I've heard you deal in Atlantean artifacts.
we'll go with the other option.
Aha, my reputation precedes me. To prove you're worth dealing with, answer me this. When were the many freaks of nature created?
So there are several different things that are all kind of explained in the Lost Dialogue of Plato if you read it, but if you hadn't read it, you would definitely be in trouble. The answer here is in the last days of Atlantis.
In the last days of Atlantis. Oh, no, you're just guessing.
Really?
Bonsoir, monsieur. Feel free to look me up whenever you're in town. And now, au revoir.
Well, I messed that up. Let's see how we are on points. Actually, I think we closed the gap somewhat on points.
Over here, Monsieur Trottier. Back again, Dr. Jones.
And you can certainly see how, if you don't know the answer here, you're kind of in the exact same scenario that you would have been in the first act if you didn't know what to do, where you would have to just kind of randomly wander around, this time verbally instead of physically, to try and find the right answer and the next thing to click on that's right.
Oh, that depends. To prove you're worth dealing with, answer me this.
You only have to answer one question, thank goodness.
What material did the Atlantean carve devices to search for orichalcum?
It was amber.
Amber. Yes, excellent. Obviously, you know Plato's Lost Dialogue well.
Dialogue.
Personally, I doubt I can help you, but my name is recognized among dealers in antiquity. Maybe my business card will be of some use to you.
So you go.
Look me up whenever you're in town. And now, au revoir.
You go. Oddly, that didn't give you any points. Let's see. Let's toggle that off and on to do that. And so you have use and look at glitched there, and both were lit up.
It says A. Trottier, truly old antiques.
So yeah, in this path, you don't go to the city streets here. No, the city streets there. Let's see if we can open the main entrance.
It's open. I better not go in. The wrong people might be waiting for me.
That's a weird response, because nobody should even know you are in the city, let alone thinking that the Nazis are around every corner. I mean, it would kind of make sense for Indiana Jones to be a little paranoid about that, but there would have needed to be a line of dialogue saying, I've heard news that the Nazis are on my tail. And we really haven't gotten any facts around that. In fact, the Nazis don't even really come back into the story, I think, for a while. So then you just have to use the taxi. And notice the map is zoomed in here, so you can't go back to Barnett College. So it is just bouncing between Al Jazeera, the Algiers, not Al Jazeera. That's Al Jazeera is like a Middle Eastern news. I think it's the Saudi Arabian state-run news channel in the real world. Yeah. So we're going to use the business card to get an introduction with this character. And let's see. I thought there was a red fez here.
It all looks pretty worthless.
This looks like there's a red fez there, but doesn't seem like you can pick it up. So we're going to use
I don't
business
think that'll
card or give the business card with to the
work. I don't
gum.
think that'll work.
Yeah, nope. Use gum with
I don't
business
think that'll
card.
work.
And see, if this was more comedic, there would be comedic responses
I don't
here.
think that'll work.
Instead of just, I don't think that'll work. You should be able to use a gum on
I don't think that'll work.
everything.
I don't think that'll work.
And the only reason you've kept the gum is because you're going to use it in a different puzzle long down the path, where it would have made more sense to lose the gum and find a new piece of gum. So we're going to give the business card to the servant. Which servant's a weird way to phrase to use when you could have just called him salesman or associate or
Excuse me.
Yes?
I think this may interest you.
Ah, so you've met our esteemed colleague, Monsieur Trottier. So
Hmm.
what?
Can you arrange a meeting with Omar?
Can you arrange a meeting with Omar?
Mr. Aljabar, do you Effendi? Since you have contacts among antiquities dealers, I guess I could see if he is available. Wait here until I get back.
So he's gonna wander off. And I believe at this point,
I don't need any more worthless junk. I don't need them. They're just small pots.
Where is the red hat? Where's the fez?
It all looks pretty worthless. Big pots. Little pots.
I've missed something here. See, normally in this game you don't have pixel hunting going on. And I think if I walk to the exit, now I'm probably too late to follow him on the city streets. Ah, follow the man in the red fez. There we go. Forgot how this worked. And so you have this weird
Excuse me.
Hum-de-dum.
you have this man with the red fez that you're supposed to follow. And he doesn't know anything about Atlantis or anything, but we need his fez
Nice fez.
because it's
Why,
red,
Are you here
whereas
for the
every other
festival?
thing is in a red dot. Let's see.
Maybe. When does it start?
It's going on right now, Effendi. Salam, Effendi.
Let's see. Nope. Don't.
Think happy thought. Think.
So we've got to convince the man in the red fez to give us the fez. I don't remember what you have to say to him to do that. And see, this is a very weird, like, busy city. There's a market here, and here. And then you've got this whole map that you don't really interact with. Let's go back to the back alley. I believe. Nope.
There you are.
We ran out of
Mr.
time.
Aljabar says that he's sorry, but he can't see you now.
Okay. So if you were going to try and follow this guy, he would just show up as a white dot. We need the fez. I remembered the fez. I didn't remember that you had to convince the man in the fez to give you the idea. Otherwise, you once again would just be lost. Like, somewhere around here, kind of randomized, is where his his location ends up being somewhere, I think around here, if I recall correctly. I don't know if it really is randomized, but you can't click on it and get there until you've been able to basically stalk somebody.
Ya-da-da.
Just a moment, please.
So I need to
Nice
say
fez.
nice fez.
Why, thank you. Are you here for the festival?
No, but that's quite a hat is probably what I need.
No, but that's quite a hat.
Just being honest.
Do you like it?
It's much better than the sharp stick that eye. How much do you want for it? It's kind of garish, not particularly.
How much do you want for it?
Sorry, but my beloved fez is not for sale at any price. Salam, Effendi.
Nope, don't.
Think.
And so you can't talk to him a second time.
Just a moment, please.
And see how he spins the beanie
Nice
at the
fez.
top.
Do you like it?
Let's see. And see, we got past one thing. It's kind of garish, not particularly.
That's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
Oh my, yes. Why does it attract you?
So we got to the next point. It's kind of dull. It's kind of festive. It's hard to describe. Well, he mentioned the festival, so let's go festive.
Kind of festive.
Aha, you observe closely, my friend. With a fez, one becomes truly festive. Undoubtedly, you feel envy, no?
Yes. I doubt too many people who ever legitimately wore a fez would actually spin the little tassel around. If anything, I imagine that tassel on a fez probably had an original practical purpose to act as a thing to maybe attract flies or just to grab a hold of so you're not touching the felt that a fez was originally made out of with dirty hands. I am a little frustrated. Are you kidding? I'm gonna go with well.
Well,
Of course you are, but there is no need. Here, take my fez and join in the festivities.
say thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
So yeah, you have to have this
The
whole
very act of giving it to you has lifted
weird
me to a higher state of
interaction with another weirdo, which you would kind of
festivity.
just
Someday you'll
hope
understand.
that you would run into more normal people in an Indiana Jones game. But point and click adventure games do need that comedy, and arguably this is kind of the problem with Indiana Jones being point and click adventure games, and even the Broken Sword series being in a point and click adventure game, is that particularly in the Broken Sword series, they tried to have not only comedy and drama, but also romance, and they kind of failed miserably on
Bright red fez.
the romance, and the comedy was sometimes good, but sometimes not. Of course, there's another point-and-click adventure game that I covered. Can I remember the name of it, though? There was about 3 games in that series, and it was basically a horror point-and-click, and that also wasn't well written. Well, you're once again limited to so few actions that you're very quickly allowed to fall off the path. You're basically walking a tightrope in this game. Either you do the right thing or you fall off the path into just confusion. Whereas most point-and-click adventure games past this point would have more hints and guides to put you back on the path, or it would just have other things you can do. Take note, there's no experience here where I can collect 5 different items that I'll use an hour later. with maybe the exception of the gum. Everything you collect is going to be almost immediately used. So, speaking of use, we should see if we
I don't
can
think that'll work.
wear it. And see, I don't know if it was really a joke that the guy was bald or not. So we're going to give the bright fez to the servant.
Excuse me.
Yes?
I think this may interest you.
Why would I want a fez?
No woman can resist a man in a red fez. It's magic. It's a magic good luck fez. It'll make you look taller. It's not particularly short. Let's see. Although also in kind of a Muslim country, there very rarely, I would assume, are single men. Like with early kind of arranged marriages and marriage being heavily focused upon, I would assume this person already has a wife, not to suggest maybe 2 or 3, and probably is on his 2nd or 3rd child. It is also kind of insulting to think he is just going to believe in a magic fez out of nowhere. So let's go with this one and see what happens.
No woman can resist a man in a red fez.
Really? You think so? Wait until Fatima sees me in this.
Which I guess the answer is he is trying to get Fatima, which is just a name thrown out there, and we never see her as a character. So now we're going to talk to him again.
Excuse me.
What is it now?
Again, very easy to just not know what to do at this point, and ask him to go see Mr. Al-Jabbar again.
Go see Mr. Al-Jabbar again.
Well, you do know Tratier. Perhaps I didn't explain things very well to my master.
The whole servant master thing in 2021 is also a problem. Like, the master slave issue was used in programming particularly a lot, even today. And here he goes. Here's the servant. We're gonna click on him and follow him, and you can get really close, so it's not like you need to stay back or anything like that. And you can see he's wandering around, because there were hard drives that would be in a master setting and hard drives that were in slave settings, and there was programming terminology that worked there. They've now tried to replace that terminology with client server, which sometimes makes sense and sometimes really doesn't make sense at all, because in a lot of ways it's still saying almost the exact same thing, and a master hard drive was actually directly controlling the slave hard drives back in the day. They don't even work that way anymore, really, but there is no server on a hard drive, for instance, and there is no client software on a hard drive. Not really, but yeah, they wanted to get that terminology out of there, and if not now, then when becomes the cry, and it's a legitimate issue, certainly, is to ask that question.
The servant's ducking into that house.
So now we found Omar's house.
Who he knows. I don't want to see him, understand?
Oh, I thought he really was Al-Jazeer. What's his name?
Dr. Jones, I suppose. What an unpleasant surprise.
I didn't realize it. I thought he was just faking.
That won't be necessary, Paul. Now be a good lad and alert the police while I entertain our guest.
So his name really is Paul Abdul, which is weird.
We'll talk about your punishment later. Well. I had no idea the famous Indiana Jones was such a fool, traveling so far and risking so much in pursuit of a mere myth.
What's funny is that this actually,
It's no myth, as you well know.
as a character,
No,
is a more
let's
interesting
talk it over.
character because
My
he's
house is your house, and until the gendarmes arrive.
He is a more aggressive character, and he's not happy that Indiana Jones just showed up, whereas in almost every video game, otherwise you'd be fine.
Stop. Leave my things alone.
And so, let's see, close closet door.
You can't do this. Trap me,
And
torture me, kill me. I'll never tell you anything about Atlantis.
let's talk to him now.
Mr. Jabbar,
Let me out.
Please stop taunting me. Strong latch on the closet door, I notice.
I want you to help me find Atlantis.
Reveal my discovery after what you've done to me.
What discovery?
The one the Germans are exploring. They're out in the desert right now, digging up an outpost of the Lost Kingdom. Perhaps the Atlanteans were establishing a settlement, or maybe they were fleeing for their lives.
So we get information.
Let me out, and we'll discuss it.
Let's see.
Strong latch on your closet door, I notice.
Ha! I spit in your face. Patoy.
Alright, well, there's a statue.
They will scatter your bones where none shall.
It's a cheap soapstone carving.
We'll go ahead and take this statue.
May the sand cover you.
We've
without
seen
a
this statue used several times. Clearly, a lot of these pots and
May the
urns have
sun
just
addle
been
your brain and
copy
cook your
and
flesh.
pasted. So we're going to use
May
the
the sand
camel to
cover you
leave.
without a
This animal's seen a lot of miles.
Let's see.
May
Need
the
this
wind
pole.
scatter your bones where none shall find them.
It's a flimsy bamboo stick.
I don't know we
Just a
get
piece of
bamboo
bamboo.
in this environment.
May a goat be the mother of your children.
Use bamboo stick with the hanging cloth. Not the red
The
hanging
stick
cloth.
broke, but I got the map.
And then there's
That
a map.
won't do you any good. There are no names on it.
Interesting. So we
May the
can
wind
now
scatter your
look at a map.
The only mark on this map is one big X.
Trap me, torture me, kill me. I'll never tell you anything about Atlantis.
It's the stuff dreams are made of.
And see, you've got another blackbird statue. Which clearly a lot of this
May
stuff.
a goat be the mother.
It's the stuff dreams are made of.
There's a lot of stuff here we're just kind of stealing from him.
May
It's just laundry.
Hmm.
I can't reach it.
May you
Did
die
we
without water, Jones.
miss anything? And so, yeah, the whole joke here is that he's just
May the
gonna
sun addle your brain
insult
and
you.
cook your flesh.
So let's talk to him again.
Listen,
Don't worry, Paul will let you out eventually.
tell me more about this dig site.
Not until you let me out.
Okay. Let's talk to
May
him
the
one
sun
more time.
addle your brains and cook your flesh.
You can't even talk to him.
May
Open
scorpions
closet
pluck out
door.
your eyeballs. Thank you, Dr. Jones. I'll be back to tell you all about Atlantis as soon as I find out what's keeping the police.
So he just wanders around.
I don't think that'll work.
Okay, well, there's nothing else here. And so we are going to just use the camel to leave.
The only mark on this map is one big X.
And I suppose we should do that. And so then you are in another puzzle, which I'm not sure you can save in this point, but I think you can. The Scum VM engine seems to really make no trouble in different kinds of gameplay modes. In a lot of ways, these different gameplay modes are just actually the same thing. There is a region that you can click and something will happen, which is kind of true for any mouse-controlled video game, but they look, certainly when you get into these top-down perspectives, very different, and it makes it feel like a different game. Arguably not a better game. There is definitely a reason why there is, to my knowledge, exactly 0 other point-and-click adventure games where you go to a top-down perspective and have to follow a man with a red fez, or have to look for an X marks the spot on a map. But yeah, we're going to end up using our wits to move forward down this direction. I believe we end up with one of the 3 stones, the World Stone, Sunstone, and Earth Stones. Then maybe there's a secondary part to this middle act to really, which might actually mean that instead of this actually being a 3-act game, it probably averages out to a 4-act game, and that, but we're still going to be in the branching path pretty much until we get to Atlantis. And once you get to Atlantis, that's when it merges back together. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.